All right, let's take a look about how we can solve quadratic equations using square roots. And this is a quadratic equation because we do have this, what's inside parentheses, squared. Now, when we solve equations, you want to add or subtract before you multiply or divide. So that would say that this plus 20 would happen before we divide by 2. So this is subtracting 20 to both sides. After that, we'll divide by 2. All right? So my first step is to subtract 20 from both sides. Rewrite the equation. So now we have 2 parentheses x minus 8 squared equals 26 minus 20 is 6. And now we're getting a little closer to getting x alone, but now we have the 2 on the outside here. And so we're going to divide by 2. Divide by 2, and our new equation is now the 2 is gone, so we're left with parentheses x minus 8 squared equals 3. And now comes the part that we're trying to use square roots to solve quadratic equations. So if I take the square root of both sides, then I can remove the squared situation. So the opposite of squaring something is get the square root. So essentially what I'm doing, I'm taking the square root of that and that. So this is left with x minus 8, squared is gone, equals plus or minus, okay, it's plus or minus the square root of 3. Now x is almost by itself, but not quite yet. We have to get the minus 8 out of there, and simply to do that we just add 8 to both sides. That will leave us with x is now alone equals positive 8 plus or minus the square root of 3. Okay, we can look at another one now when the squared is inside the parentheses, so we're going to handle that a little bit differently. So your final answer for this one is x equals 8 plus or minus square root of 3. Okay, let's look at another one. Now in this one, you'll notice that the squared term is inside the parentheses, so we're going to handle that a little differently. We're going to distribute that part. So when we're looking at it, the first thing we can do now is first of all distribute here. 3 times x squared, 3 times 1. And then we get 3x squared plus 3 minus 8 equals 7. Okay, notice we handle it a little bit differently because we have the x squared inside the parentheses. Okay, so now we have 3 minus 8, which is negative 5, so 3x squared minus 5 equals 7. Getting a little closer. And so now we're going to add 5 to both sides. So now we have 3x squared equals 12. A little bit closer. I'm trying to get x alone. We're going to divide by 3. And then we have x squared is equal to 4. And here's the part we use the square roots to solve quadratic equations. We want x by itself, not x squared by itself. So to undo the x squared, we get the square root of both sides. When we do the square root of x squared, we get x equals plus or minus the square root of 4. Okay, I took the square root of this and that. And so what is the square root of 4? The square root of 4 is 2. So it's x is equal to plus or minus 2. In other words, x is equal to 2 and x is equal to negative 2. Both of these answers are acceptable. Writing it like this or writing it like this would be fine. Okay?